You're listening to Tassie Encounters Moments on Faith FM, and we're coming to you from Tasmania, right across Australia. Each weekday at 9 a.m, you can hear what the Bible says about past, current and future events. You can learn how to study the Bible more effectively. You can get to know who God is, why we're here, and where we're going. And you can experience personal encounters with Jesus. I'm your host, Jason Cook, and today Lawson Walters is back in the studio with us. Thanks for coming back.
Mate, I just love the bass in your voice. That's powerful. We don't have anything like that up in the breakfast show. It's myself and Scaffy. We're a bit more high pitch, plus Shell. We're doing more yelling and more, getting a bit crazier. Whereas, just love that timbre. I
have had some people say that they find that the Tassie Encounters program is soothing.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I love it. Hey, we're here now, and maybe I'll take some of the soothe out of it, but hopefully you guys are interested.
I'm amazed at how sometimes, you get up early to do the breakfast show, you're working then after that, and I just think, I don't know how you do it. So you seem like you're on full energy all the time.
The secret is firstly going to bed early. Yeah. Like that is super necessary. But when we come into the studio, I'll walk in. Scaffy's a bit different. When I used to do the show with Lyle or Danuta or some of our previous show hosts, I would walk in, say, "Hey, good morning. What's up? Good to see you." Then we'd sit down at our desk and we would be working on our stories and the things that we're going to talk about in the day. And it's so funny. You hear the countdown and we have our jingle and whatnot for our show come on and your face just like lights up. You go from tired and gloomy to just fully, lit up and good morning and welcome, that kind of, just passion and straight into it. So we're not just like, and then usually when we go into the ad breaks, we slow down
all the time.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Scaffy, on the other hand, dude, he's something else. Like I walk into the studio like, "Hey, good morning, Scaffy." He's like, Lawson. He's on it. I don't know what that guy's doing. He's healthy, he's fit, and he's into it. But hey, look, fantastic now to be down here, Tassie Encounters, in the Hobart studio for Faith FM, and picking up where we left off yesterday.
Yeah, we had a bit of an introduction, and I don't know if you've ever shared this elsewhere on Faith FM. I know I've heard bits of your story.
Sure.
But it seems to just come up randomly
on
different programs.
I've hung out with Lloyd on the Aussie Pastor. I've shared a little bit of my story there, and then on the breakfast show, talking about my life is something that happens.
It just happens, yeah. So, but this week we're spending the 5 days sharing different parts of your story. So yesterday we learned a little bit about your family background and grew up in Newcastle.
Yep.
3 sisters.
Yep.
All fairly high achievers in different fields, and we learned just towards the end of our program that you started to have a keen interest in motorcycles, and
that's right.
And you got into racing somehow. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so I was growing up in Newcastle. We bought 4 acres in an area called Rathmines, and we were living there, me and my family, and we had a Pee-wee 50, it was a hand-me-down. We had a Pee-wee 50 and Pee-wee 80, classic starter motorbikes. I'm sure many people listening, growing up in Australia, if you live anywhere like outside of a city centre, you've probably heard of a Pee-wee 50 and had a ride on one.
I have a little connection here. The Pee-wee 50s, I think, were a semi-automatic. Is that right? They didn't have a clutch?
So the Pee-wee 80s were a semi-automatic.
Okay, what
the
were the
Pee-wee 50s were just completely automatic.
Completely automatic.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up, when I was 5 years old, I started riding a motorcycle, and that was a full manual.
Yeah.
Clutch, gears, everything.
That's awesome.
And it was called a Gemini. It was a Japanese-made
bike.
Yeah.
I think I know. I've heard of the Geminis before.
5 years old, learning to ride a manual.
That's awesome. I think I would have jumped on a manual. I probably would have been 7.
Yeah.
But look, I was riding my Pee-wee 50 around the backyard. Some kids came to literally kindergarten. Some kids came in with some trophies from the local motocross track, and I was like, "Where did you get those?" And they're like, "We got it motorbike racing." And I was like, "Are you for real right now? Like, you can get trophies motorbike racing?" And they're like, yeah. And so I went down to the local motocross track with my dad for the first time. It was big and scary. We went there, signed up to the club, and I started riding. And I was a back of the pack kid. As I jumped on, the higher classes and whatnot, I started to go from like back of the pack, getting lapped to, around the back of the pack and then to the mid pack and whatnot. I was about 9. When I was 9 years old, I remember I finished in the top 12 in a state championship, which was, and I was, the age group was 9 to under 11s, and I was a 9-year-old. So I was, just coming into the age group, and I did really well, and my dad was so stoked and happy. And then the next year, as a 10-year-old, all of a sudden, at all my local club days, I was winning. At all of the regional events, I was winning. I went to the state titles, and I got second, and I went to the Australian Championship that year. So we're talking 2009. As a 10-year-old, went to the state championships and the Australian championships, and I won. As a 10-year-old, I was an Australian national motorcycle champion. And from there,
that must have been a bit of a high.
Yeah, it was like, for me, I wasn't like, I was always a relatively smart kid, but I wasn't particularly gifted in school. I wasn't, I didn't have any standout features or qualities or whatnot, other than all of a sudden I was really, really good at motorbike racing. I was an Australian champion when I was 10, and from between 10 to 15, I would go on to win another 5 Australian championships. So I was a 6-time Australian champion, many times state and regional champion. And I was, among this young crop of motorcycle racers coming, through the Australian junior system. When I was 15, or when I was 14 turning 15, that was, I was racing in Australia, and I had won the under 16s Australian Championship, which is essentially for junior racing. So juniors is under 16. For junior racing, I was at the highest level. I was one of the best in Australia. And because I'd won the under 16s Australian Championship, I actually got dispensation to ride in the Open Australian Championship. So after 16, it's just open against, everyone. And I would go on to win that as well. So at 14, 15, I was the outright Australian champion. For road racing. I'd transferred. I'd started in dirt bikes, and then I'd started riding on the bitumen.
I was going to say, what type of racing was this?
So I grew up, doing motocross, dirt track, speedway. Like I did a few different disciplines. I actually, as a 13-year-old, I went to Sweden to race in the Speedway Under 16s World Championship. As a 13-year-old in the Under 16s, I think I was in the top 30 out of everyone who qualified, which is pretty good. I think around 22nd, 23rd, something like that. So yeah, I was really high level in speedway, but road racing on the bitumen would be, down in Phillip Island and Eastern Creek and these famous Australian tracks. I was setting lap records. I was one of the best in Australia. I was winning everything. And so the decision was made to head over to Europe as a 15-year-old and to enter into the under 21s World Championship. Now I was over there, I was racing for a couple different teams. The team, that I raced for I did 2 years over there. In my second year I raced for a team called H43, which is Spanish for H43. And I lived 1 year in Madrid, lived another year in Cartagena in southern Spain. And yeah, the Spanish motorbike life was literally wake up every morning, go for a 10K run, come home, eat breakfast. I'd jump on my mountain bike. I was into cross-country mountain biking at the time. I'd do 70, 80 Ks. I had this loop that I would do. Come home, eat lunch, have siesta, have afternoon sleep, which is pretty common in Spain. And then I would either go motorbike practice in the afternoon, evening. We had like a local go-kart track and local motocross track and whatnot that we'd go to. Or I'd go to the gym. So I was like super fit. I was a professional athlete. The level that I was at in the under 21s World Championship is probably similar to, if you know other sports like the NBA or the NFL, they have the collegiate league, so like college. And it's kind of like if you can be in the top 10% of college, basketball, you then get drafted up into the NBA. And, you get your big contract and that kind of thing. And that's kind of where I was at. I was in that top percent of, fastest kids. In the under 21s World Championship, there was 32 riders there, and I was one of them. And it's, among the top fastest motorcycle riders in the world. And literally the next step is you go from the under 21s World Championship to the World Championship. You know, Moto2, Moto3, MotoGP, this kind of scene, Casey Stoner, Mick Doohan, if the listeners know these names, that I was just under that level, and racing full time, training full time, and yeah, spending my time over there.
I'm guessing at this point in time in your life, you weren't thinking too much about God.
No. Look, actually, my one encounter regarding spirituality, there was one time they had, like, in my city in Cartagena, they had like a Catholic festival where they carried a statue of the Virgin Mary up to the top of a mountain, which was interesting. And then another time I had an encounter with Mormon missionaries.
Okay.
But really, in terms of faith in this time of my life, I had no room for it. My sole focus. I had no room for school. I left school when I was 15, which probably wasn't the best move, but like I had no room for literally anything but full time. I'm either in my running shoes, on the bicycle, in the gym, or riding my motorbike, or eating, salad and athlete food. Like that's really where I was at. And it was like the dream at that point was obtainable. It was close. In my second year, particularly there, I was hanging around the top 15. It was, hey, if I could consistently be in the top 10, I can get drafted up into the World Championship on a real contract. And so my second year there, put a few decent rides together, had a lot of issues and a lot of struggles, a fair few crashes, some technical issues with the bike. And so I was looking like, hey, this next year, my third year in the Junior World Championship, this can be the year that I do really well. I did a test for a new team. I was doing times that would put me in the top 10, even the top 5 of the championship. And I was like, hey, if I can sustain this pace going into my third year, I'll be able to make it. But that was the time in which my motorcycle career came crashing down, and we're going to talk about it tomorrow.
Don't give too much away.
Yeah.
So tune in again tomorrow where we find out what happens next in Lawson's journey. And Lawson came up with a bit of a question. How much do you really know Jesus? That's the challenging question for this week. So we'd love to hear from you. You can text us in. We are not live, so we can't share them immediately on air, but we do read them. And maybe you've got some other questions. We'd love to hear from you as well, so do text us. But right now, we've got our book offer coming up.
This program is made possible by the support of Adventist World Radio.
Our book offer for this week is called A Pause for Peace, What God's Gift of the Sabbath Can Mean to You by Clifford Goldstein. A recession grips this country, one that has nothing to do with money. It is bankrupting our homes, our lives, depleting our personal energy reserves, and eroding our devotion to God. And that's a recession of time. Clifford Goldstein identifies the Sabbath, a day of rest, as God's recovery plan for this devastating recession. So it's easily one of our most life-impacting books you'll ever read. Lawson, you spoke about it yesterday. You read this book.
Oh, love it. No, Clifford Goldstein, again, amazing writer. This is a powerful book. And actually, it's actually on a topic talking about the Sabbath, which has particularly affected my life. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later this week. But this has been a thing that I have instituted in my own life. It's instituted in God's word from the very beginning of time in creation. I instituted it in my own life, and ever since I have been reaping the rewards. So guys, I need to encourage you to please get this book. It's for free. We're giving it away. Take it.
Text in TEM for Tassie and Countless Moments, 20, no spaces. Text that into 0488 880 891 to claim your free book offer today. As we go out, we remind you that we're going to continue this discussion tomorrow with Lawson and find out what happens next in his career, in his motorcycle racing career. And, so do tune in again. May you encounter Jesus more today as we go out with this song by Statement called Come and Dine.
Jesus has a table spread where the saints of God are fed. He invites his chosen people, come and dine. With his manna he doth feed and supplies our every need. Oh, 'tis sweet to sup with Jesus all the time. Come and dine, the master called it, come and dine. You may feast at Jesus' table all the time.
This program has been made possible by the support of Adventist World Radio.